The Tea Biz podcast delivers tea news that you need to know. A recap of the week's major headlines with commentary and cultural trends hosted by Dan Bolton. It is the voice of origin for tea professionals and enthusiasts worldwide.
The Tea Biz podcast and blog connect you directly to experts in the tea lands. Listen as their voices reveal the news, innovations, cultural insights, and consumer trends that most impact the industry. Paired with Tea Journey, a digital magazine for tea enthusiasts, the Tea Biz portal is a global resource for everyone who loves tea. Hello, everyone. Here are this week's headlines. Bangladesh stays calm and carries on through regime change. Tea bubble investors cautiously await a parade of 6 IPOs. And tourism rebounds in Sri Lanka. Plus, the relevance of outcry auctions. On the eve of World War II, London's tea brokers sold 60% of the world's tea. But when the London auction resumed in 1951, the bulk of tea was transacted in the tea lands. Today, most of the world's tea is auctioned at regional tea centers in India, Africa, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. In July, the Colombo Tea Traders Association organized a London-style Open Outcry Auction for charity that earned 46 million rupees to build 130 smart classrooms and provide English language lessons for the children of tea workers. Today, Dan takes us into the auction hall where the bidding is about to begin. More in a minute, but first, this important message.
What makes a perfect cup of Ceylon tea? The perfect cup is from the tea businesses that ensure the protection of all the children living within their tea estates. We salute Kailani Valley, Telawakili, Bogawanthalawa, Harana, and Eliptia tea estates. Support Save the Children, Sri Lanka.
Bangladesh tea industry stakeholders have signaled a return to normal after weeks of deadly protests. On August 5th, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled the country, diffusing deadly protests in Dhaka that began in June and led to the deaths of an estimated 500 people, mainly students. A peaceful transition of power is underway, with Nobel Peace Prize recipient Muhammad Yunus named interim head of the transitional Bangladesh government. Mohammed Shadir Rahman, managing director at Indigo Brokers, writes that he was relieved to see a new government has been formed in Bangladesh. He explains, quote, "Tea in Bangladesh is not just an industry, it is a culture. So everyone takes care to prevent any political party from entering the tea industry," end quote. Bangladesh Tea Board Chairman Major General Ashraful Islam exercised a strong and steady hand during the most significant political crisis since independence. General Islam, a civil engineer, has chaired the board since July 2021, a period of growth during which the country's tea production finally met the long-pursued goal of exceeding domestic demand. Bangladesh harvested 103 million kilos last year, surpassing the estimated 95 million kilos consumed. The board hopes to harvest 108 million kilos in 2024. The government set an ambitious export earnings target of $72 billion for all goods and $10 billion for services in fiscal year 2024. Goods, including tea, totaled $52 billion in May, according to the Export Promotions Bureau, EPB. Earnings in the services sector were $5 billion, nearly 30% lower than the government's target. Now that the country's growers have exceeded production targets, General Islam told the Dhaka Tribune, quote, "Improving the quality of tea is necessary if exports are to be competitive globally," end quote. Trader Rahman said, quote, "Bangladesh has exported more tea in this fiscal year than in the last 5 years. Everyone wants to work in the tea industry and to keep this trend going. Hopefully the old market in the outer world will come back," End quote. Business Insight. Tea exports grew 33% to 1 million kilos through May from 168 large estates and an estimated 8,000 tea smallholder gardens. Export destinations number 14 countries. The United States and the United Arab Emirates are the top two destinations, each importing about $1 million worth of tea, followed by Kuwait, Pakistan, and Italy. Exports totaled 780,000 kilos and were valued at $1.14 million in 2023, down 57% compared to the previous year. Bangladesh's tea exports were valued at $2.73 million in 2022, according to the State Minister for Commerce. Market researchers forecast continued expansion of the global bubble tea market, but wary investors caution that the bubble may burst. There are currently 6 Chinese bubble tea makers separately weighing overseas initial public offerings, reports Bloomberg News. Hong Kong IPOs include Anti-Jenny with 6,000 locations, Chai Bai Dao also with 6,000 locations, Good Me Tea with 6,700 locations, Miyu with 28,000 locations, and XSQT with 1,600 locations. Chaji with 1,860 locations filed for an IPO in the U.S. China Chain Store and Franchise Association estimates the bubble tea market was worth about 145 million won, about 20 million U.S. in 2023. However, unit sales and share prices have since slowed. Bloomberg writes, quote, Chinese regulators issued guidelines earlier this year discouraging certain companies from listing in the domestic A-share markets. Using so-called window guidance, regulators discreetly advised the companies that rely on explosive franchise business models also cannot list locally, according to a person briefed on the matter, end quote. Food and beverage chains were reportedly among the companies banned from listing in China's main exchanges, according to Chansun and Company's Xinming. Quote, especially projects that are burning money in order to surge at scale, writes Bloomberg. Market saturation, concerns about whether bubble tea is a passing trend, questions about its healthfulness, high operational cost, and steep pricing amid economic certainty threaten the viability of franchise retailers that have made the drinks available in major cities worldwide. The biggest impediment to expansion may be limits imposed by the build-out rush. Companies that rely on opening new stores to sustain revenue growth often experience a decline in gross profit margins due to higher costs associated with store operations and management. The market may look promising, but individual ventures share an inherent weakness. In May, the BBC in London produced a report examining why investors are wary of fueling the expansion of retail outlets. China has 500,000 bubble tea shops, the largest market for the sweet-chilled combination of tea, syrups, tapioca pearls, and various toppings, including frothed cheese. BBC cited the example of Nayuki Holdings, a Chinese bubble tea chain that briefly made its founding couple billionaires after going public in 2021. According to Bloomberg, the company's stock, issued in Hong Kong, has since declined 90% from its IPO price, lowering the net worth of founders Penying and Xiaolin from $2.2 billion to $300 million. A similar fate befell China's third-largest bubble tea chain, Szechuan by Chai Bai Dao Industrial, known as Chai Bai Dao, which has made its stock market debut in April. The shares plunged on the first day of trading and have yet to recover. Miyu, China's most significant chain with 25,000 locations in China and 3,000 overseas, announced in January that it would file a $918 million Hong Kong IPO. It then put the offering on hold until this summer, when it revived the filing. In the BBC report, senior economist Gary Ning at Natixis in Hong Kong explains that, quote, Chinese food and beverage chains usually rely on quick expansion to achieve a large market share and pitch the story to investors as the exit strategy, end quote. Ning said, quote, it also means that the corporate health of these firms may not be very sound with leverage, and the chains are usually highly replaceable if there are new and good competitors, end quote. Tourism is rebounding in Sri Lanka. Foreign visitors are essential to the tea economy, contributing directly as tourists who visit tea gardens, walk the tea trails, and stay at tea-themed resorts, as well as indirectly as visitors who prefer ordering Ceylon tea at hotels and restaurants and tea rooms. Earnings from tourism rose to more than $1.88 billion during the first 7 months of 2024, a 73.3% increase compared to the same period in 2023, according to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka expects to greet 2.3 million foreign visitors this year and projects 3 million visitors in 2025. The UN Tourism's World Tourism Barometer credits Sri Lanka for a steady post-pandemic recovery. Quote, Sri Lanka's tourism sector is distinguished by its diverse attractions, which include beaches, wildlife sanctuaries, rainforests, tea plantations, ancient heritage, and Buddhist cultural and religious sites, end quote, says Natalia Bayona, Executive Director of UN Tourism. A new promotional campaign by the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau targets 5 countries: China, Britain, France, Germany, and India. Initiatives include waiving visa fees and extensive social media campaigns. Tourism peaked in 2018 when 2.5 million tourists traveled to the small island, where they spent $5.6 billion. Niraj Demal, chairman of the Sri Lanka Tea Board, told China Daily that Sri Lankan tourism offers many options based on travelers' budgets and preferences. He said that the country draws in many people who are attracted to beaches and those who like to visit the tea estates known for cultivating world-class Ceylon tea. There are in some estates where tourists can come, pick the tea, and stay in bungalows and hotels on the estates, he said. We call it tea tourism. The government is also making available beachfront property for development and encourages investment in new resorts and eco-friendly accommodations and tourism infrastructure. Vipula Wanigasegara, the former general director of the Sri Lanka Tourism Authority, said, quote, this winter is going to be a major success, end quote. Next, Arvinda Anantharaman in Bengaluru reports on this week's India Tea News.
India Tea News for the week ending 30th August 2024. It's been a bit of a quiet week. We take a look at what's happening in Wayanad after the landslide of last month. It's been nearly a month now since the devastating landslide. Over 100 people are still missing, and DNA testing has been the only way to identify family members. Media reports carry stories of families desperately trying to understand whether a missing family member is alive or among the unidentified dead. There have been mass burials, and among the dead are several people who come from states such as West Bengal and Assam to work on the tea, coffee, and rubber estates here. Harrison's Malayalam Limited is one of the largest tea companies in the state, and with tea estates in the affected area, about 600 workers working in the districts that were affected, and the company has said they are committed to supporting relief measures for employees. In other news, we have something from Andrew Yule and Company, and it's not very good. The Deccan Herald reported news of Andrew Yule and Company, which is a public sector undertaking under the Heavy Industries Ministry, declaring nearly 1,000 crore, or that's $100 million in losses for 2023-24. The company owns 15 estates, tea estates, of which 10 are in Assam, and this news has put the future of about 8,000 workers in Assam at risk. There are concerns about how it would impact the running of their estates, and labor unrest is seen as a top concern. The Chief Secretary of the state has sought interventions from the union government to help the company address its current situation.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Nish. I grew up in an organic tea farm and founded Nepal Tea Collective in 2016. Tea is not just a beverage for me, but a catalyst for social change, sustainably empowering hardworking artisans like my parents for the past 30 years. I'm on a mission to make the whole world aware of the goodness of Nepali teas and the good that comes from supporting growers in this remarkable land. If you haven't tasted Nepali teas yet, you're missing out. Our award-winning teas are making headlines. Find out why. Visit Nepal Tea Collective's website to get a free sample of this extraordinary taste of the Himalayas. That's nepalteacollective.com. Or just send me an email at nish, Nish, at nepalteacollective.com. Cheers.
On the eve of World War II, London's tea brokers sold 60% of the world's tea. But when the London auction resumed in 1951, the bulk of tea was transacted in the tea lands. Today, most of the world's tea is auctioned at regional tea centers in India, Africa, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. In July, the Colombo Tea Traders Association organized the London-style Open Outcry Auction for charity that earned 46 million rupees to build 130 smart classrooms and provide English language lessons for the children of tea workers. Today, Dan takes us into the auction hall where the bidding is about to begin. The rustle of the arena as tea buyers vied for attention is punctuated by the rhythmic repetition of calling bids in the auctioneer's chant. The recent charity auction to showcase Sri Lanka's finest teas was nostalgic and entertaining, and it revealed that tea auctions retain relevancy after 400 years. Greek historian Herodotus described auctions as early as 500 BC, but open outcry ascending auctions date to 1674 in Sweden. British outcry originated in the 17th century as a means of price discovery and the complex valuation of antique books and fine works of art. Britain's East India Company established tea auctions to transfer tea from China to the West, and in 1836, Parliament ordered tea from every origin to be auctioned at the East India House, and later Mincing Lane. The first tea auction held in Sri Lanka was in July 1883. Tea outcry auctions engender camaraderie in business that mirrors tea's social power to connect and sustain relationships. In July, Sri Lanka's best-known brokers, planners, and buyers raised 46 million rupees, that's more than 150,000 US dollars, for the Colombo Tea Traders Charity Trust, commemorating the 130th anniversary of the Colombo Tea Traders Association. Affection for the centuries-old tradition was evident in the hall, which was crowded with several hundred buyers. Like the dress code of a white shirt with tie, the pageantry was orderly and understated. Those attending tea auctions will find they are not as regimented as legislative deliberations or as ornate as matriculation ceremonies in higher education. But a hierarchy is evident, and quaint customs prevail. Bidders seated in the cavernous Jasmine Hall in the Bimich Center, 6 rows deep, vied for 39 lots of an award-winning selection of premium Ceylon tea. Situated in front of the auctioneers, buyers faced a row of ornate wooden chests known as tea caskets. The beautiful caskets, designed and crafted by Sirmivian de Silva of Timber Concepts in Sri Lanka, held 500 grams of the featured tea. Bids started at 100,000 rupees. The event preceded the Colombo International Tea Convention, a joint initiative of the Sri Lanka Tea Board and the Colombo Tea Traders Association. The auction was the first CTTA charity auction since 2017 and one of the few outcry events since the Colombo Tea Auction's modern digital tea platform went live on April 4th of 2020. The pandemic accelerated plans to replace the twice-weekly outcry auctions at the old Chamber of Commerce Hall. The hastily introduced digital platform, developed by Oklo, has since become the backbone of transactions for the world's largest Orthodox black tea-producing country. Last year, Sri Lanka exported 242 million kilos of tea, almost all purchased at auction. The new platform automates the transaction process at every link in the supply chain, from when the leaves reach the factory to the final payment settlement. The end-to-end process is efficient, adaptable, and firmly favored by brokers, but lacks the competitive allure and business advantages of personal interaction. This is why open bidding has stood the test of time. A casual observation of the assembly reveals groupings by company, region, and pair status. There's a conformity of attire with individual flourishes suggesting personality and status. White shirts and blue with ties were the standard, but there were also open collars and a polo shirt. 8 brokerages, each presenting 5 teas, were listed on the lectern in the auction's catalog order of sales. Like a horse racing book, the catalog's list of teas revealed preferences in style and the pedigree of the individual estates. Venerated Forbes and Walker, established in 1881, provided 23 of the 39 teas on offer and purchased 2 lots. The teas were all winners in the 2024 Ceylon Specialty Estate Tea of the Year competition. Forbes and Walker Managing Director Yashan Fernando, who chaired the auction's organizing committee, writes that while certain brokers did not have any winning teas, quote, since it was an industry initiative to conduct a charity auction and for the sake of equality, F&W shared its winning teas among other brokers in an equitable manner, with a distribution of gold, silver, bronze, and merit, in the true spirit of charity to achieve the goal of the charity auction, end quote. Tea's ability to stimulate meaningful conversations was evident during tea breaks when the brokers I spoke to commented on Forbes and Walker's generous support. There are many ways to dispose of tea. There are Dutch and penny auctions, Japanese clock auction, Vicary's second price sealed auctions, reversed auctions, and closed bids. Tea veterans consider outcry superior for several reasons. Foremost is the vetting of participants and the club-like personal interaction of peers. English outcry auctions are unique because bidders make their bids openly, so all bidders hear and see and often know who makes the offer. Over time, a helpful hierarchy evolves, ranking the oldest brokerage, the most innovative brokerage, and everyone learns the brokerages that handle the most transactions, the brokers who manage the most lucrative stable of clients, and those who consistently achieve the highest bids. Brokers like that items are sold in sequence and standardized lots. Offers are quickly and sometimes aggressively revised to encourage a higher price. More precious still is that outcry auctions are evidence that amid the most aggressive competition, chivalry prevails. Intrigued by what you heard in today's podcast? Would you like to learn more from our global network of Tea-Biz journalists and tea experts? Remember to visit the Tea-Biz website for more comprehensive coverage. That's www.t-biz.com. Thanks for listening. Farewell till next week.
Produced by Adavita Studios. Connect your voice to the world.
Save big money on everything for your projects at Menards. Update your outdoor space with our huge in-stock selection of AC2 pressure treated lumber, decking, and fencing. Load up big savings using our drive-through lumberyard. Plus, get free estimates fast using our deck and fence design programs. Menards, America's #1 home improvement retailer for customer satisfaction, according to J.D. Power. Visit jdpower.com for details and menards.com for deals.
Save